Rainbow Man, a story for a puppet theater by Wayne Pease. Invocation. Rainbow Man, arc of energy coming from your head, feathers from your thighs, go wild, strike across the sky, color God's tears, and let the world know weeping is only the beginning. 1. Rainbow Man began his journey in a casket, hiding in a dead man's eyes. Rainbow Man lay like a stone, pretending to be dead. Rainbow Man called himself an undiscovered jewel, a seed of light buried in the earth. He held himself tight, covered with a crust of mud. Rainbow Man lay silent, trying not to think, trying to keep his own colors from himself. He lay frightened of what he might do. Rainbow Man controlled his body, holding it hard as a gravestone, afraid to make a move. One move would undo him, one step begin the journey of his life. Rainbow Man said to himself, "There is no end and no beginning. Our lives exist all at once." He said this because he was afraid to begin, because what begins must end. Rainbow Man did not want to begin. He wanted to be his own master. He had a vision. He himself stretched out between the stars, at the mercy of their energy. Rainbow Man wanted to be his own star, his own source of light. Yet he feared for himself, fearing his finite energy, afraid to dissolve into the world of others. Rainbow Man had a vision, a universe without time. His friend said, "Time is what makes us human." Rainbow Man did not want to be human. He wanted to be a jewel, a diamond, or a ruby. He wanted to be eternal, even at the price of being alone and unhappy. Rainbow Man felt miserable. His own hardness hurt him. He felt a burden to himself, as though he had to carry his own life, as though he had to make his own heart beat. Rainbow Man hurt in his heart. He ached in his stomach, and his feet did not want to stay still. Rainbow Man lost control of himself. He began having visions. He saw himself as a child by the Christmas tree, surrounded by presents. He saw his soul unraveling like a string from around the box. Rainbow Man began losing his desire to be only himself. He began desiring other people within him, the king, the clown, the lover, and the fool. Rainbow Man began dancing. Yes, he began dancing in the burnt-out church of his heart. He danced up and down the aisle, all over the altar. Rainbow Man put on the music of his spirit and began dancing. Yes, he danced to madness, love, and even, yes, badness. Rainbow Man shrugged off the mud. He broke open the hard crust covering his eyes. He let himself be blinded by the world. Rainbow Man began stumbling. He bumped into houses and trees. He fell over the bodies of women as though they were roadblocks. Rainbow Man didn't know what to do. He had so much energy and nowhere to go, and always the sun in his eyes. Rainbow Man panicked. He ran, though he often fell. He ran from the cries of those trying to help him. He ran from the police, from children, from cats and dogs. Everybody wondered who he was, this crazy blaze of bright lights running through the streets. Rainbow Man finally grew tired. He sat down. He fell asleep. He had a dream. Rainbow Man dreamed he was an alligator, though he had never seen one. He dreamed he lived in a swamp and had big teeth. Rainbow Man dreamed he could kill and eat what he wanted. First he ate a snake, then a hedgehog. He ate a rhinoceros, and, horrors, a little girl. Rainbow Man ate the Himalayas and the man in the moon. Nothing was safe. Rainbow Man began devouring the stars and terrified himself. Rainbow Man woke. He shivered with the cold. He lay on a mountain top. Above him the stars scattered themselves in ancient patterns. Rainbow Man read the writing of the stars. They said, "Have no fear. We are stronger than you. Whatever you do, you can't hurt the universe." Rainbow Man shivered with the cold. He didn't want to believe the stars. He wanted to believe his dream. Rainbow Man closed his eyes and tried to be a stone again. He tried to cover himself with mud, throwing horrible thoughts all over himself, thoughts about how horrible the world was. Rainbow Man could not keep his eyes closed, and he couldn't help loving his own thoughts. This made them beautiful, much to his disgust. Rainbow Man sat up. He was tired of this struggle with his life. He wanted to give up, let his life be what it would. Only he didn't know how to give up. Rainbow Man didn't know how to let go of himself, and that was the next step. Two. Rainbow Man sat on the wet, dirty sidewalk, hiding his eyes. Rainbow Man wore dark glasses, selling pencils, pretending to be a cripple, pretending to be blind. Rainbow Man leaned back against the spit-stained wall. He pretended to be blind so he wouldn't have to admit he was seeing what he was seeing, not to himself or anybody else. Rainbow Man was seeing a disorderly, disorganized world. Nothing made sense. People just wandered around, buttons coming off their clothes, their shoelaces untied. Rainbow Man watched cats chase dogs, children beat grown-ups, cars drive on the sidewalk, people walk in the street. It just didn't add up. Rainbow Man added up his money. He'd sold 3 pencils and had 50 cents. Rainbow Man stood up. He wore a long coat to hide his colors. He straightened his sign saying, "I am blind." Rainbow Man tapped his way down the street, rattling his little tin cup. "Pencils!" he cried. "Anybody want to write out their life? Pencils, pencils!" Tap, tap, tap. Rainbow Man came to a stop. A little boy stood in front of him, a blind little boy who was really blind. "I'm blind," said the little boy. Rainbow Man said, "So am I." "No, you're not," said the little boy. He stamped his feet impatiently. "You're not really blind. You've got eyes." Rainbow Man said, "I've got eyes, but I can't see. Nothing makes sense." The little boy grinned. "You've got no sense," he said. "That makes sense," said Rainbow Man. Rainbow Man walked around the little blind boy, forgetting to pretend to be blind. "He's not blind!" cried the little boy very loud. "He's a fake! He's got eyes! He can see!" Rainbow Man thought, "My God, they'll all be after me now." And he was right. A crowd gathered around him, everybody blind but him. Somehow they knew where he was. "It must be my body heat," he thought. Rainbow Man stood there, breathing the breaths of all those blind people, expecting the worst. What was he supposed to do? An old woman spoke. "We haven't seen anybody who wasn't blind in a long time. You're the first." Rainbow Man didn't know whether to feel flattered or insulted. Either way seemed to feed his ego. He decided to try silence. It didn't work. "Well," said an old man, "what have you come for? What have you got to show us?" Rainbow Man knew there was nothing worse than having sight in the city of the blind. He was cautious. It didn't matter. They saw right through him. "Come on," said a little girl. "You haven't got eyes for nothing." Rainbow Man made a little speech. "Folks," he said, "I'm really no different from you. In fact, I'm worse." "What does that mean?" someone asked. "It means we're bad," said another. "No," said Rainbow Man, "I didn't mean that. You're good people, if a bit deprived." The crowd murmured at that. Rainbow Man realized all his attempts to hide were making everybody miserable, including himself. It just didn't seem worth the trouble. Rainbow Man took off his sign, "I am blind," and threw it away. The crowd immediately gave an ooh and an ah. Rainbow Man threw away his cup. It went rattling down the street. "Oh!" cried the crowd, "oh!" Rainbow Man took off his coat. His colors flashed out. They splashed all over the people, the stones, the houses, the town. The people danced with laughter. Delight filled their eyes. They threw away their canes and cups. They threw away their signs and clothes. Rainbow Man walked away across the hill. Three. Rainbow Man couldn't decide what to do next. He felt lonely without a mate. Rainbow Man felt lonely in his bones. Where was the one for him? What other kind of creature could fulfill his need for color and a gypsy life? Rainbow Man looked at the sky. It was a uniform, monotonous blue. Rainbow Man looked at the sea. It was an even, split-pea green. Rainbow Man felt dull and faded, yet full of energy for the quest. He needed a reason to be himself. Just being himself didn't mean much right now. Rainbow Man looked at the flowers. If only he could marry all the flowers! But poor things, they were stuck in the ground and could only nod their heads yes and no. That bored him. He needed something more changing, more impulsive and uncertain, something more like himself. At this very moment, something flashed between the trees and the flowers. Rainbow thought, "What was that?" Before he knew it, he was on his feet and running. Rainbow Man ran into the thick forest, a forest so dark he could hardly see his feet. Rainbow Man stumbled over broken branches, over old picnic baskets and beer cans, going deeper and deeper into the darkness. And just as he was about to give up, there it flashed again, not too far ahead of him. Rainbow Man ran, and he lost all sense of time. Day or night, he didn't know what it was. Had a century passed? Rainbow Man finally threw himself on the ground, tired to the death. If he couldn't have his mate, he didn't want to live. Rainbow Man lay there a long time. Leaves and twigs fell down on him. Moss grew over him. He looked like a stone. Rainbow Man learned to be still. He who'd always danced and flashed his colors and gotten what he'd wanted. Rainbow Man lay still as the mice came to have a feast. They spread out their lunch on his head. "Don't do that," said Papa Mouse, "or Butterfly Woman will get you." Rainbow Man perked up his ears. They were on each side of the mice. "All I did was whistle," said Junior Mouse. "Don't do it," said Papa Mouse. "Just look up there." They all looked up, and there, high in the trees, a small, bright blaze of color rested on a branch. Rainbow Man wanted to fly so bad he almost moved and frightened the mice. Luckily, he didn't. "Don't you know," said Mamma Mouse, "Butterfly Woman is always looking for her mate, and it's said he will whistle in just this way." Mamma Mouse demonstrated very quietly for Junior Mouse by whistling in his ear. not only in Junior Mouse's ear, but in Rainbow Man's ear too. Rainbow Man memorized that whistle. He held on to it like it was a diamond, like it was his life and happiness. He couldn't wait until the mice went away, but he did, for that bright blaze of light still rested high on the branch above them. Rainbow Man listened to the inane after-dinner stories of Papa Mouse. He put up with the cigar Mama Mouse smoked. She said it improved her digestion. And he even tolerated Junior Mouse stuffing bubble gum up his nose. Rainbow Man said, "When I want something, I want it bad." Finally, the mice went away. Rainbow Man slowly raised up his hand. Then, without moving any more than necessary, he formed the magic sound with his lips. He blew softly at first, then louder. The beautiful tone rose slowly in the air like a beam of light. Rainbow Man sent out all his joy and hope on that breath. The breath came up from his feet, right through his heart. And that little tune said this: "I am the earth which loves the sky. In me you have the reason, both where and why." The tune rose higher and higher, like a ladder to that blaze of color resting on a branch. Rainbow Man almost lost hope, for the bright spot disappeared. Then it blazed again. He realized she had only closed her wings a moment in preparation for flight. And down she came, down and down, hesitantly, brilliantly. And finally she flew right into his heart. "4. Rainbow Man, for the first time since being a child, felt tied down. It was crazy and insane having a family. It sapped his energy. Rainbow Man couldn't stand the petty details of this existence. Holes in the socks, the broken washing machine. He couldn't stand the trivia, the tacky pictures on the wall. Rainbow Man felt destiny had bigger things for him. He recalled the days he arched across the sky, the 7 temptations of the sea, the deadly fire he faced at the center of the earth. Now it all seemed like dreams. His son crawled in his lap. Rainbow Man sat at the kitchen table. He looked at the many colors in his son's eyes. They were shaped like wings, circles of green, purple, yellow, and blue. When his son laughed, his breath was white. Rainbow Man let all his love flow from him into this tiny child. If only his family were threatened, then he'd have a reason. He'd become someone in the world again. How he hated taking out the garbage. Rainbow Man read the morning paper, his eyes half closed. He mowed the lawn. Days off were the worst. Rainbow Man worked in a paint factory. His responsibility? The right mixture of colors. They considered him the expert in the field. Unfortunately, he only felt trapped in his specialty. Rainbow Man painted the mailbox, hoping a letter of destiny would fly into it. How dull and gray he felt. A bluebird landed on his head. Rainbow Man stood very still. Bluebirds meant something special. And the mailman came. He laughed and pointed. "There's a bluebird on your head," he said, handing Rainbow Man a letter. Rainbow Man looked at the letter in his hand. On it there was a blue star, a red heart, and a rainbow. Suddenly he remembered what he'd long forgotten, a blaze of light in the dark forest. Rainbow Man opened the letter. All it said was, "I need you." Rainbow Man began to glow. But where? He had no idea where to go. Rainbow Man wrote a note. "Gone fishing. He took his son by the hand. He put him on his back and began walking. Rainbow Man walked along the sea hundreds of miles. Then he crossed the glaciers and the northern mountains. He walked until there were no more forests, only tundra. Rainbow Man sang to his son, and his son sang back, "We're on the road, we're on the road. It's good just to go. It's good just to go." And after days and days, they came to a palace of ice, the home of the northern lights. Rainbow Man knocked on the door. It opened slowly, and there stood a cricket who looked very old and blue with the cold. "Come in, Rainbow Man," he said. "You've been expected." Rainbow Man walked between giant icicles and figures frozen in snow. His son didn't like this at all. He said, "Dad, are you sure you know what you're doing?" "Shush," said Rainbow Man. Rainbow Man shivered, but he ignored his intuition. They went down a corridor where the walls glowed with a cold green fire. They came to a door like a giant red ruby. The cricket guiding them said, "Ruby, ruby red, let us in to the land of the dead." The door swung open with a bang, and there on her throne sat Butterfly Woman, laughing. Rainbow Man felt very weak. All his strength began to fade. He cried, "Oh, cruel queen, I thought you needed me." "I do," cried Butterfly Woman. "We're running out of power for the northern lights. I need your color." Rainbow Man couldn't resist. The ant-like servants of the queen shut him up in a huge diamond, and how that diamond hummed. "We've enough power for 1,000 years," cried Butterfly Woman. "I shall raise your son as my own." Rainbow Man prayed, not to any god or spirit outside himself. He prayed to the light within him. He asked it to give wit to his son. Rainbow Man sent his soul to his son in the form of a firefly. The firefly danced before his son's eyes, and his son went running after it. His son ran and ran until he came to a great door red as a ruby like the other. And his son, because he'd heard it before, said, "Ruby, ruby red, let us in to the land of the dead." The door swung open with a bang, and this time it really was the land of the dead, a place with warm blue skies and all that had died, the old animals, the old insects, everything that had lived on the earth before. Rainbow Man sent his firefly soul crying, "The door is open, the door is open, you may go back to the land of the living." And the dead, crying and laughing, flew and ran, stumbling and jumping, through the door into the palace, and the palace began to melt from the heat of the happiness of the dead. Rainbow Man felt his trap crack. The diamond of ice shattered into 1,000,000 pieces, and the pieces melted like tears. Rainbow Man jumped up, full of himself again. He ran for his son. Rainbow Man found his son playing by the crystal river, the only one left in the land of the dead. "Let's stay here, Dad," said his son. Rainbow Man looked around him, and he saw that it was good. "5. Rainbow Man, after many years in the land of the dead, became impatient. He wanted his son to see the world. Besides, he was growing old. He wanted to feel people around him. Rainbow Man said to his son, "How would you like a taste of life, my boy?" Now his son, who had grown straight and true as a broom handle, had long been bored with his childhood. "Let's go," he said. Rainbow Man didn't know what he was doing, or he wouldn't have done it. The minute he walked through the ruby door back into life, he bent over. His long hair went white. He had to lean on the arm of his son. Rainbow Man grew afraid. "Death," he said, "real death is coming upon me." Rainbow Man had to buy glasses and a hearing aid. He walked with a cane. He became jealous of his son's exploits. They became estranged. Rainbow Man sat watching the water. "What more is left?" he thought. "I've done all I can do." Rainbow Man began weeping, his colors arching through his tears. Now to him his crying sounded wretched and painful, but somehow, out in the clear air, it became music, beautiful singing. Rainbow Man astonished himself by actually looking beyond his nose, and what did he see? Children! Yes, many, many children gathered around his feet, and they laughed at his stories. They danced with delight as he sang them songs. Rainbow Man told them about the blind city. He whistled the tune of the forest mice. He showed his colors, and they blazed like the northern lights. Rainbow Man had found his home at last, the home he could stand to live in forever, the hearts of the children he loved. Rainbow Man told stories and sang songs until the day went on so long it was called eternity. And that's the end of our story. Let us call it Rainbow Man. You don't know what it means to be free, but if you stay here you will know me. There's a bird flying high in the sky, somewhere way back then they cut your wings. Now you have to learn how that bird sings. There's a bird flying high in the sky, you feel the wind rushing past your eyes. Now you know what it's like to be in those skies. There's a bird flying high in the sky, down below your river twists and turns. Down below the earth lights up and burns. There's a bird flying high in the sky. What you see is what you were before. What you see is how you are and more. There's a bird flying high in the sky. You have the wings of what all people know. You have the wings of rain and falling snow. There's a bird flying high in the sky. There's no time to regret what you have done. You leapt into the battle and now you won. There's a bird flying high in the sky. Goodbye. Merry Christmas, friends, and Happy New Year.